Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We have some news on the RSI Meteor to go over today. In the latest PTU patch, which is the release candidate 1, I believe the Meteor was finally put in, along with some paints, so we have stats for it. So we are going to go over that today, talk about what we're expecting to see this week. We are expecting the patch to go live, but we'll talk about that a little bit and some of the other stuff we're looking forward to. So let's go ahead and get into it and see some of the stats on the RSI Meteor. All right, now before we get into going over the Meteor stats, I did want to quickly go over the This Week in Star Citizen announcement. We do have a decent amount of stuff that we'll be getting this week. We have on Wednesday, we will have a roadmap update where they'll update all the cards for 4.2.1, which, as we'll see here in a moment, is going to be probably going live on Thursday. We might get some new additions for 4.3. If there's any other new things that they're planning to add on there, maybe we'll get some news on engineering. You never know. But that's going to be on Wednesday, so I definitely will be covering whatever updates we get with that on Wednesday. And then Thursday is going to be the big day this week. We will be getting, it's their intention to launch 4.2.1 to the live service, so I'm pretty sure that'll be happening on Thursday. They usually don't miss the dates for the releasing the patches like this. At least they haven't this year, really. We'll also get an Inside Star Citizen episode on Thursday that'll be focused on showing off this new update, the headline event, which is called Resource Rush. That's what the patch will be. Then they'll be releasing an FAQ to guide us through the event, as well as a dedicated Q&A for the new RSI Meteor. That should be going flight ready on Thursday as well. I'll definitely be checking that out in game once we can get it. I'll be doing a review for that probably a couple of days after the patch goes live, once I have some time to test it out and stuff. So that's Thursday. And then Friday, of course, we'll get the weekly newsletter. You'll have a little sneak peek, hopefully some hints or little sneaks at either another new ship, maybe the cooperative zones that we'll be getting as part of 4.3, but we'll have to see about that. But that's going to be what we have going on this week. And now let's transition over to talking about the RSI Meteor's stats and everything to do with that. All right, so first we'll take a look at some of the Datamined stats for the ship, and then we will look at, there's a little bit of video that someone was able to pull it up, and we can see kind of the guns firing, how those ballistic guns sound on it. They do sound pretty nice, but we'll hear that in a minute. We'll take a look at the paints and just kind of go through some general information about the ship. So first we have, of course, the ship name, RSI Meteor. Its focus is a medium fighter. So I know that there had been some discussion as to whether in the Behind the Ships episode, if they had just misspoke and it actually is a heavy fighter. Turns out that they are calling it a medium fighter. I guess technically RSI already has the Scorpius as a heavy fighter. I guess they could technically have another one, but that's what this one's being talked about as. And then the description is packing some serious firepower. The Meteor is a sight enemies won't want to see. Taking inspiration from the iconic Mantis, this medium fighter forgoes quantum enforcement and instead features 2 bespoke size 5 ballistic cannons and 4 single-load size 4 missile racks, making the Meteor a force that can light up the sky like a shooting star. So then let's take a look at the stats for it that we have for components and the weapons and speed and all that sort of stuff. So we are looking at, I believe this is, component-wise, I believe it is identical to the Mantis. So it has 2 size 1 shield generators, 2 size 1 coolers, a single size 1 power plant. That might end up being a little bit of a Achilles heel for it. If you can't distribute power effectively to the shield, to have good shields, good power to weapons, engines, all those sorts of things. We'll have to test, we'll have to fiddle around with that. And then we, of course, have the 4 size 3 weapon hardpoints. Those are defaults of FL33, I believe, laser cannons by default. And then we have the 2 size 5 bespoke ballistic cannons. So what we know right now, as of the stats for these, it is each one does 1600 alpha damage. One thing that I'm not 100% sure on is each gun has 2 barrels that when you click to fire, it fires one after the other sequentially. So I don't know if each shot that comes out of the gun is 1600 alpha, in which case that'd be a lot, or if it's split in half between those 2 shells. So that's something that we might need a little bit more clarification for. But we're looking at 1600 alpha per gun. So you take those 2 size 5s and then the size 3s. That's a lot of alpha damage potentially you could have. They're 50 RPM, so pretty slow firing. 240 shots on them. Again, I don't know if that is each shot counts as like one repeat between those 2 barrels on there. We'll have to see on that. And they are pretty slow at a 840 meters per second projectile speed. Next, we have the missiles, which we've seen this a little bit already. It does still have the 2 bespoke size 2 missile racks that the regular Mantis has, so that gives you 4 size 2 missiles permanently that you always have. You can't change those racks. And then you get the 4 size 4 hard points that they come by default with a single size 4 missile rack each, but you can swap them down, so each of those can hold 2 size 3s or 4 size 2s or 8 size 1s. So you can hold a decent amount of missiles on board the Meteor. And then we have our speeds and maneuverability. This is probably one of the more interesting parts of it. So we're looking at an SCM of 229, boost of 570, nav speed of 1405, which is, I think, definitely probably puts it in the interceptor tuning. So should be pretty fast in a straight line. Be able to, boom and zoom, kind of like the Buccaneer or, some other ships with that similar tuning. And then for our maneuverability, for pitch, we have 46, yaw is 38, and roll is 155. So that kind of puts it right in the middle between some of the heavy fighters that got buffed and ships like the F7A. So it's like right in the middle there. So it should actually be decently maneuverable. But if it's kind of a glass cannon, which from what I've heard, it kind of is like that, it still is pretty squishy like their normal Mantis. You won't be able to take on a whole lot of damage before you pop. So that's the regular stats there. Emissions really quick. This is just the default components. EM is 12.5K, IR 18.1, and CS is 14. Of course, that'll probably change a little bit, at least the EM and IR, depending on your component layout. But that is all of the major stats for the RSI Mantis. Let me know what you think about those in the comments. Do you think those will be tuned? I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll probably be balanced a little bit or changed a bit. But do you think, especially on the ballistic cannons, if you think that damage is acceptable, if you think it's too much, too little, or what would you like to see change on that? But now let's take a look at some of the paints and some little bit of video that we have of the ship. So for paints, we're looking at 4 new paints coming in alongside the Meteor releasing. We have the Meteor Bull-Eyed livery, which is black with red and red. That one is probably my favorite out of the bunch. We have the Meteor Skylark livery, which is black, teal, black. The Meteor Disco livery, that is black, red, metal. And the Meteor Shimmer livery, which is a black, and gold. That is going to be the concierge one. That one's probably my second favorite. So now I'll throw up an image of them here. So first we have the kind of the gold looking one. I apologize, they might be a little bit grainy. This is from just data mining the paints themselves. So we'll have to look at them a little bit better once the ship is out. But kind of got a gold finish to it more in the back. Up at the front, there's kind of some bluish and some black highlights there. Next we have our red and black and a little bit of grays on it as well. I still think this one's probably overall my favorite. I love all I love red and black and gold and black paints. Those are my favorites. So that one looks really nice. Looking forward to checking that out in game. And then we have the teal paint, teal and black. Not my favorite, that might speak to someone else more than it speaks to me, but it looks fine. And then finally we have that disco livery. I'm assuming this is one specifically, the colors and stuff picked out by Jared. We have black, some red, and then kind of some bluish gray metal coloring on there. So looks good. I'm sure Jared will be rocking that one whenever he's flying this around, which I'm sure he will only be flying this around when he plays. But that is the paints for the Meteor. And finally, let's take a look at a little video of the ship firing and some other little bits and bobs with that. There you go. There's a little clip of those guns firing. They definitely have a very nice sound to them. I really like the animation. I believe they are gimbaled as well. So they didn't show that in the video there, but the barrels move nicely. The whole gun moves nicely. So it just looks good, sounds good. And then we'll see, of course, how it performs once we actually have it in the game. But that's going to do it for the stuff that we have on the Meteor to look over today. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think about the ship so far. Do you think you're going to pick one up? Just try one out with store credit, or, anything else you think about the ship, the upcoming patch, maybe the paints for the ship. If there's a favorite one that you have, I'd love to hear what you think about them. But that's going to do it for this one. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like on the videos. It really helps the channel. And if you want to see more Star Citizen news and ship reviews upcoming, then feel free to subscribe. But until then, that's going to do it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you in the verse.